welcome back to Epicus Gamicus Musicus, here for the first episode of Anything Goes, with no rules garnering genre. I got my buddy Andrew here.
Hi.
He's going to do some EPs with me. Top 10 EPs.
Yeah.
Fair warning, his role metalcore, basically, right?
Pretty much. I was trying to figure out like other genres, but then I realized that none of the bands I listen to and anything else, like I listen to their EPs.
Yeah. Well, you know.
So, whatever.
This is what happens. All right, I guess I'll go first. My number 10 best EP is Talk Sick by Orgy. It's kind of industrial style. It's like industrial nu metal almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting style. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely pretty unique sounding. Not something I would not something I would normally listen to, but it was definitely interesting just to hear it.
Yeah, because Orgy they were an industrial band in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of went away for a bit. And this is kind of like their comeback.
Yeah, I noticed that in the comments section, people talking about that.
Yeah.
I saw it on YouTube.
They kind of, I guess they, I think they combined some like dubstep, some newer electronic stuff like dubstep and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting sound. So yeah, check it out. So what's your number 10?
The Homecoming by The Gloom in the Corner. They're kind of an interesting. They're like metalcore, but they also bring in some like new metal elements.
Yeah, I noticed that. Listening to the track Brother.
Yeah.
They just suddenly started rapping. I'm like, whoa. Where
Yeah,
did that come
exactly.
from?
Yeah. Also, like, I think they have multiple EPs out right now. Like for some reason, I guess that's just their thing.
Yeah.
But
they do EPs instead of albums, or?
It seems that way so far. Like for the most part, I think they
Yeah.
have an album out. I don't quite remember.
Well, that seems to be a modern thing. A lot of bands do EPs instead.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely a pretty new band, but yeah. Also, like your storylines in their EPs, because they always like tell a story. They tend to be like really dark, and just like violent even.
Well, I mean it's metal. I mean,
Yeah.
What do you expect?
So they got that covered.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 9 is Subculture by The 100, written out as The 100.
Yeah.
And this is a kind of a synthcore album.
Mm-hmm.
Highlight track is the song Breed, which they go through like 10 different genres. They're like, here's some metalcore, here's some grime, here's a bit of, I think, drum and bass at one point.
Yeah.
It's a very haphazard song, but it really works. It's great.
Yeah, I know when I was listening to it, it was like, it didn't even necessarily feel like they were mixing genres. It was like they put multiple genres into one song, just like went between them. Yeah. Like as they saw fit. So that was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Instead of just like fusing the genres together, like a lot of bands do.
Yeah. It's nice to see a band which was just willing to throw whatever they want into a song.
Yeah, exactly.
They because I mean, a lot of metalheads aren't really that happy with synthesizers and stuff in metal, or mixing with hip hop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see bands which don't give a shit. You know?
Right, and if they go from like pretty much just like straight hip hop to like a metalcore breakdown and whatever else they throw in is like whoa.
Good fun.
Yeah, you can't really predict it.
Yeah. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is The Dark by Jared Dines. So he's mostly like a YouTuber that does a lot of like metal related videos, mostly comedy. But this was his first like serious release like as a solo artist. So he played all the instruments himself, did the vocals himself. The only thing he didn't do was produce it.
Oh, that's pretty good. I mean, it is a really nice album.
Yeah. So, and then there's also a sequel to it called The Light, but I picked The Dark just partially because that EP came out after he had been on a hiatus for a while. It's like he had posted a video saying he was having to take a break for like he was just going through a bunch of stuff basically. And the first video he posted when he came back was the first song for The Dark. So it was like, oh dang.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right.
Now, I noticed he seems to mix like a lot of different genres. Like you can hear like a black metal bit and then a death metal bit.
Yeah, for sure. And then like The Light, he also brings in like more clean vocal stuff, which there was some in The Dark too. And yeah, it's just a very good EP, I think.
Yeah. All right. So my number 8 is Queenstrike's debut album, self-titled Queenstrike.
Right.
And if you're familiar with Queenstrike, you'll know them as a prog band, but this is pretty much pure power metal.
Yeah.
A lot of Jeff Tate hitting really high notes, like this song "Queen of the Reich."
Mm-hmm.
That's like his Rob Halford moment right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like. I know them mostly as like a prog metal band, so it was interesting to see it be a little bit more on the power metal side.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's just pretty.
I mean, I like
metal,
power metal, so
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, also another good song is "The Lady Wore Black." It's a good one.
Yes, I definitely like that one.
Yeah. Although I remember when I bought this EP once, and it was like you can pay $10 for the whole album, which included like 6 bonus tracks. I'm like, I'm just gonna buy the 4 tracks that were supposed to be on the EP in the first place. I don't want this whole. I want the original.
Right. Were the bonus tracks just from like other releases, or
yeah, like live songs, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, great album. So 8.
My 8 was Prepare, Consume, Proceed by Loathe. So they're definitely a metalcore band, but they don't quite sound like a lot of the other ones, really. Like, they have some, like, I don't know, I guess, like, dark atmosphere to them that a lot of bands lack. Especially on, like, their, like, full-length album. You can hear that a lot. On the EP, it's a bit more, I guess, generic-ish, but...
You're reading my notes.
Yeah. I saw that. But
yeah, I list this album and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing to say about this. It's great, but I've got nothing to say.
Yeah, but there was one song like Stroll Deaf or something like that.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it's called. It's there's a slash in there, right? But no, that one was like the first song I heard by that band, and like I just loved it. And I felt like the clean vocals worked really well along with the screams, like the way they transitioned in it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like they were doing it just for the sake of doing it. It felt like it actually added something to the song. So I think like with a lot of the core bands, sometimes they'll just kind of throw in a chorus just because they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And not because it necessarily works with the song. Yeah.
Check.
Exactly. But I think they do a good job of keeping it like they use the right vocal style for that part of the song.
Cool. Yeah, okay. So my number 7 is Rage Valley by Knife Party.
Mm-hmm.
And Knife Party are kind of, I think they're supposed to be described as drum and bass, but my idea of drum and bass is just the really hard 90s stuff, which is just literally just drums.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what electronic music fans call it. And it's basically, it's kind of like dubstep. It's kind of like an evolved form of dubstep.
Yeah. So interesting, this wasn't the first time I've listened to Knife Party, even though I like never really listened to any electronic music. But it was because it was like in one of those rhythm games I was playing. They had like Knife Party as like some of the free stuff you could play. So like I listened to it just playing that.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with this one actually. Like, and
Knife Party kind of have like a hardcore vibe.
Yeah.
They're a very fast-paced electronic stuff going on everywhere.
Yeah, so I mean that's like on the rare occasion I do listen to electronic music, like that's the kind of stuff that I like, the fast-paced stuff. It's
definitely very accessible for metalheads.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you can kind of headbang
for sure.
stuff is. You could probably mosh to it if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
So your number 7?
My number 7 was the Full of Hell Code Orange Kids split. So Code Orange Kids is now just Code Orange. They just dropped the word kids.
Wasn't there a punk band called Code Orange though?
That's them now. Well, they're like a hardcore band.
Okay.
I don't know if there was maybe there was another Code Orange, but
oh, okay.
And yeah, Full of Hell is no more as like a grindcore band, but they also do a lot of experimental stuff, and I really like their collaborative works, like with Code Orange or with The Body, or they even did one with Merzbow.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just really like it. It was just like a fairly like raw sounding kind of.
Yeah.
Like especially with the screams, like Full of Hell's vocalist, he's like one of my favorite vocalists, honestly. Just the way his screams sound, they just it's like wow.
And then Code Orange Kids have that like really kind of creepy child vocals in there.
Yeah,
just child vocals just in general in a dark song, it just makes it creepier, right?
Yeah. Like I know even with like their more recent works, they brought in a lot of more like clean type of vocals, but
Yeah.
like 3 of the 4 band members do vocals on their stuff.
3 or 4.
Yeah, and one of them's a woman, so you know if you hear some like
nice.
yeah clean scene, like she'll do some clean singing, and it's definitely a break from the screams.
Yeah, it's cool when you have like a good variation vocal, so you can change it up a little bit.
Yeah, and interestingly, their drummer is actually their main vocalist, though.
That's gotta be weird.
Yeah, so
drumming, because you gotta keep your mouth in the same place. You
right,
can't move
right.
your head.
So like, if you watch a video of them playing any of their songs live, he's just like turning his head to the left into the mic while drumming, and it just looks like it would be uncomfortable, but he does it.
That's pretty boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 6 is also a split. It's the St. Valentines Day Massacre by Head Girl, or Motorhead and Girl School.
Right.
And it's not your traditional split, because it's like Girl School played a Motorhead song, Motorhead played a Girl School song, then they did a song together.
Yeah.
So, and I think, and the story behind it is the Motorhead drummer hurt his hand. So they couldn't record with their drummer, so they used Girl School's drummer.
Okay.
And recorded an EP with Girl School, and then
I guess that makes sense.
yeah, it's a cool mix because they're both kind of. I mean, this Motorhead is, everybody knows Motorhead. Girl School is kind of fast-paced, no album style. Very not girly in any way. They are an old girl band, but they are like.
Yeah, they're not like some like idea of like just a super girly band.
Yeah, they are like full-on new album.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not normally a style of metal I normally listen to. Honestly, I tend to prefer the like more extreme metal genres, as you know, Jack.
It's not. It's too old.
No, but I mean, yeah, it was definitely interesting to hear, like, especially the song where it was both bands like together.
Yeah.
Instead of just like one basically like covering the other.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I think that was probably the song I liked the best, just to hear like.
Yeah, the mixed song is the best one though. Let's see where.
Yeah. So.
Although the funny thing is, I think the Girl School song, the one that Motorhead played, is the line is 999 emergency, which is the emergency number, the 911 in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird if you start singing it though. You're just going 999.
Sounds like you're German.
Yeah, exactly.
Just some really negative German.
So what's your 6?
The Titan EP by Oh Sleeper. So Oh Sleeper's an interesting band. I like pretty much all of their stuff, but the Titan EP is definitely not their first release. It's actually their most recent, but they made it an EP for, I forget why, but I think they went independent and didn't have money for a full length.
Yeah.
But it like tells a story of basically like a futuristic kind of dystopia thing where this group will sell like augmentations, but if you do that, then you have to basically be like their slave for a while.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting EP. Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell just from reading the lyrics exactly what it is, but once you know it and then you like look at the lyrics, you're like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because the guy, he's like, he signs up for it because he was blind, and then he becomes a pilot, but then they ask him to start like bombing a rebel group for them. But then he gets shot down and captured by them, so he has like a change of heart, and it's interesting. And then musically, there's a lot of, well, it's metalcore, but there's definitely moments of a lot just like calm, and there's one song, why am I forgetting what it's called? It's like
He's gone.
There's one song on there, I don't remember the name for some reason, but it's like just completely just soft for the most part. Like it builds up a little bit, but it's never like, there's not like a breakdown in it or something.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's got a bit of variety in it.
Yeah. All right. So my number 5 is Only the Dead See the End of the War by Akrasakaida, which are an Iraqi thrash metal band.
Okay, they're Iraqi.
From Baghdad, yeah.
Okay.
And this is their first album that was actually recorded properly. After they moved to the U.S.
Okay.
And yeah, it's some pretty cool. I'm not even sure if it's this. If all the songs are thrash, they're sort of maybe just sort of a generic metal, but they do have some nice songs. It's
yeah, I definitely like. I had no idea how to pronounce the name, but
yeah,
I was just like, I can just type this into the search button.
Just type in the name, right?
Yeah, I was like, all right. So, but I definitely actually enjoyed that EP. quite a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The
So
best
it's
song,
definitely something I would listen to again.
yeah, the best song is "Message from Baghdad," the first track.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that explains that song title.
Yeah.
they're from there.
But apparently the name is it's some form of Middle Eastern scorpion or something.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it sounds cool. So whatever.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, they've now got a full length album out.
Uh-huh.
It's not quite as good as the EP though.
Oh, okay. Well, I check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, cool thrash metal. So you're number 5?
My number 5 is Prevailer by For Today, although I don't really include the acoustic track at the end in that. But For Today is actually like a super Christian band.
Yeah.
But like that EP, I just feel like it's just heavy. So
Yeah.
I like it a lot. That's pretty much it. Like it's just really
I really like the
heavy
song
throughout.
From Zion. It had some really I remember having some weird guitar work. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it definitely sounds very unique.
Yeah, and actually, like even just in their discography, I'd say that EP definitely stands out from like their normal style to some extent. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not musical enough to say like why using proper terms, but it just does.
It doesn't matter. It makes you feel good. That's good enough, right? All right. So number 4 for me is 74 Jailbreak by ACDC. And this is basically a compilation of the songs that were on the Australia-only releases. Because the first couple ACDC albums, there was like an American, there was like one that's exclusive to Australia. Then there was the Australian version of High Voltage and the American version. And they did the same thing with Dirty Dudes Done Dirt Cheap. And so there were a couple songs which never made it to the U.S. And this is when they were finally released.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely listened to AC/DC before. Good band. I haven't really listened to that EP before though. So
it's pretty obscure.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I mean, it was pretty much what I'd expect from them.
Yeah, it's just stock ACDC.
So if you've heard AC/DC, you pretty much gonna get that.
Yeah. Highlights are the song Jailbreak.
And
Cover of Baby Please Don't Go. Just kind of weird an Australian band singing a song about New Orleans, but yeah, whatever.
Whatever, man. New Orleans is such like a mixed thing anyway.
Yeah, you can have whatever you want.
Just show up, take whatever you want, leave.
Yeah. Yep, great album. So your number, what is this, 4? 4.
Yeah, so my number 4 is Moments of Clarity by Era. So Era is actually one of like the earliest like heavy bands that I got into. Like when I was first getting into like metalcore, because that's kind of how I transitioned to extreme metal. So I remember this EP, what had happened is the original vocalist had left, so they got a second one, and then they kind of recorded that EP. Although apparently at least some of the songs were sort of just like leftover tracks from the previous album that they didn't put on.
Yeah.
So they just kind of like, I guess, cleaned them up a bit and put them on there. But it was definitely interesting just, well, I know for me when it was first released, just to hear what the new vocalist would sound like. And then, of course, like, okay, the next release they have another vocalist. Yeah. Because that one, like, hurt his voice somehow. But it was interesting. And for me, actually, in high school, I did a English project on one of their songs from that EP.
Cool.
Because we had to do, like, a poem, and I asked the teacher, can I do a song? And she's like, sure. Just as long as it's, like, you know, appropriate. I'm like, all right.
I mean, songs are pretty much poetry anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think she just meant as long as it didn't have like a bunch of cursing in it or something. Or it wasn't like describing some like brutal murder. Which that EP does not do. Era doesn't do that. So.
I did like I think they have the vocalist combination on this one was pretty good.
Yeah, their lead guitarist will do a lot of cleans, and he has a very like high pitched singing voice.
Sometimes metalcore bands, their vocalists are a little pop punky.
Yeah,
and it's like, ugh. It's like there's too much. They need to like be closer together. Sometimes you have to have the right fit with the two vocalists.
Yeah, and it's Era's definitely been good about that, and also like a lot of the guitar work they do. They have a lot of melody. It's not just like breakdown after breakdown like some bands will do.
Yeah. So,
very interesting.
Cool. Yes, so my number 3 is Joy Division's debut EP, An Ideal for Living. Pretty much all the songs are good. Highlights, Warsaw, Leaders of Men.
Yeah, it's just definitely more in like
Very
like
post-punk classic.
yeah, on your list it's like just when you start to get more of like just the punk type stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, the couple bands that released their EPs in the late 70s as their debuts, they were killer debuts. Like,
Yeah.
it was.
So, I mean, it definitely. When I like listened to it, it didn't sound like it was just like, oh, this is some random band that just made their first thing, like first release. It sounded like it was, like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, they might have had a single or two before this. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like like a black metal recording or
yeah,
something.
Sounds like they spent like $2 on it.
Yeah. It's not like they recorded it on like in a garage.
Yeah, and this is definitely Joy Division at their punkiest. And less of the weird post-punk stuff they end up doing by the I guess their last time was the 80s. So.
Right, like with punk bands, when they learn to play the instruments a bit more, they tend to bring in some other stuff.
Well, then Joy Division, the lead singer died, and they became New Order. Mm-hmm. And New Order became like the first like EDM band, so they had a bit of an evolution.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Chapters of Misery, From Slaughter to Prevail. So they're a Russian deathcore band.
Nice.
So most of the lyrics are in Russian, so if you can't understand it, it could be because of the vocals, but it could also just be because it's in Russian. You never know with them. But that's their debut, like everything. But sounds really well made. Their vocalist, he had a bit of a YouTube following, doing like covers of deathcore bands, and people were like, "You need to get in the band." And I guess he decided.
Deathcore. I think it's a good mix of like modern metal with death metal, because death metal is always mastered terribly in the 80s.
Yeah,
it all sounds like shit. So
exactly.
So it's nice that we have it all. We figured out how to master it now.
Yeah. So it definitely sounds well produced, and it's not like, like it's made in a microwave or something.
Yeah.
It's not like you're recording with a washing machine doing a load. So I mean, it's definitely like the heaviest EP I put on the list. I'm a fan of it. Just
nice.
It's pretty just heavy all the way through.
All right. So my number 2 is, it's kind of hard to call it an EP when it's only 5 minutes long. But it's more of a glorified single. Mm-hmm. The Nervous Breakdown EP by Black Flag.
Right.
Probably the most popular hardcore band.
Yeah, sure.
Nervous Breakdown's a great song. I've never been a big fan of the rest of the songs, but Nervous Breakdown brings them up. And okay. I mean, hardcore bands are pretty consistent, so.
Yeah, it was definitely hardcore. Yeah, Black Flag, you kind of just know what you're getting with that.
Yeah. Until we get into the later Black Flag albums.
Yeah.
Like this, I think there's one album which is like a split between metal and spoken word, and it's like, what the hell is happening?
They got bored.
It's like, just stick to metal, just stick to hardcore, and everybody will be happy.
Pretty much. I mean, a lot of bands, I think they just get bored with it.
Yeah, punk bands don't have
plus
patience.
Like, with punk, it's like they do whatever they want. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So to stray them from punk, it's kind of like a punk thing to do. But.
Right. So what's your number 2?
Perfect War Forever by Glass Cloud. So Glass Cloud's an interesting band. Like the main guitarist for them came from the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Great name.
Yeah, really great name. They're like a deathcore, mathcore kind of band, and Glass Cloud is, I'd say, more like mathcore if you want to get specific. They're sort of in a weird hiatus right now. It's kind of unknown if they're going to release anything or not. They have an album out too, but this EP for Forever, I'm just a big fan of it. Like the vocals, I feel like just go really well with a lot of the guitar work, especially when he does like this like dissonant tapping stuff. It just sounds like insanity.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would describe that.
Yeah, definitely some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What are we at? Oh wait, so before we do number 1, we do our honorable mentions.
Okay.
I've got the Blazer EP by Kavinsky, sort of retro wave. If you're a fan of the game not Retro City Rampage. Oh, what is it? That Miami one. There's some top-down Miami shooter that uses a lot of retro wave.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Hotline Miami. That's the one.
Yes.
It's sort of like the music from that, and it's pretty cool. And one, it's not actually an EP, but it's only 15 minutes long.
So
it's
it's either an EP or a grindcore album.
Yeah, the Circle Jerks album, Group Sex, 15 minutes long, and they claim it's a full album.
I think sometimes it's just kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Whatever the band wants to call it.
Yeah. Your honorable mention?
The Zombie EP by The Devil Wears Prada. So I found that a lot of people seem to really hate on The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
They hate their name, so at least there's that. They kind of hate on themselves.
Well, aren't they're one of the metalcore bands that sort of got the hate focused at them.
Yes, for sure.
It's like they're like a martyr metalcore band.
Yeah, basically. It's like when you talk about metalcore bands that like metalheads seem to hate, like they're definitely one of them.
Yeah.
With the Zombie EP, I definitely like it's mostly just like the storyline for it's pretty much just like your generic zombie story.
Yeah.
Like just people are dying, there's zombies. There's the survivor at the end who's just trying to live off the land or something. But musically, I'm just a big fan of it. Just like it's good, like heavy, hard metalcore. I saw the entire thing performed live before, so that was quite an experience. It was only my second like heavy concert. I was there with my cousin, so it was definitely, I guess like it holds a special place in my heart just because of that, if nothing else.
Yep. All right. So my number one, the best EP ever, is the Buzzcocks debut, Spiral Scratch. And this is a pretty short one. It's a punk album. It's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
But you've got, especially the song Boredom is a great one.
Yeah, that was my favorite on there.
It's got a great bit in there. Instead of doing a guitar solo, he just plays two notes over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just
Greatest guitar solo.
Yeah. And then the other three songs, Breakdown, Time's Up, and Friends of Mine, are all classic Buzzcocks. Because I think the Buzzcocks were one of the classic punk bands that were the closest to being a hardcore band. Like they were very fast, and the drummer's super schizophrenic. He's just is all over the place.
Right.
It's a great sound.
Yeah, the only thing is like with a lot of like more traditional punk, I'm just for whatever reason not like a big fan of the vocal style that usually comes with that. I mean, like I get it, and I'm not saying like those bands are terrible for using it, but I don't know. I just personally I'm like not the biggest fan of it.
I think I like this era of especially British punk because they're all trying really hard to sound British, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, there's
a great accent to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're number one?
So it's from the Unforgiving Arms of God by End. So this is their debut EP, and they're kind of a super group of metalcore bands. But I'd say like this EP just sounds like way more raw and just like hard hitting than like all the other bands that they come from.
Yeah.
So I was not expecting that when it first came out. Like I was expecting it to be more of a generic metalcore sound, but then it's just like really just unrelenting, just hard hitting, just in your face, kind of like So definitely a fan of that.
Cool. Is that it then?
Pretty much.
10 best EPs from both of us. Hope you enjoy them. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
All right.